We are on the cusp of greatness here, people. The Mephitis society is on the brink of complete annihilation of the world we know around us. We are living in a time of complete and utter chaos. It has to be known that no matter what will happen, no matter what we do, we must keep moving forward. I'm always reminded of the scholar. There's more to heaven and earth than what leaves to be explained. I live in a world today of complete madness, of racism, of insanity, of watered down beliefs so much they want to take everything there is to know about us and destroy it. I'm not a person who believes in racism. Racism is the tool of the inept, of the elite, who want nothing more than take whatever we've created and to destroy it. This is nothing new. And today, you'll learn that. But what lurks within the darkness of humanity? What lurks within the very essence of humanity? That's what I'll be talking about to you today. Nothing more and nothing less will be ever answered. But I want to assure you all today that insanity is what dictates humanity, not politics, not an elected official, nothing but absolute insanity. Think about it for a second. Think about just what lurks within the darkest crevices of humanity. It's insanity. Who planted that seed of insanity in the garden of humanity? The Mephitis society. And here we are, living in the world crafted by the Mephitis society. We are seeing a new era of humanity. An era that hates no matter what. A new era of just sickening depravity. Celebrities, elected officials, corporate owners are practicing some of the most horrific acts of sexual depravity. We are in a new era, and this era has been dictated before we were even born. 1,000 years ago, our ancestors made a pact with the devil, and that devil goes by the name of Mephitis. Now, these creatures that I'm speaking to you about today aren't like the aliens you see in the X-Files or in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. These are beings that want nothing more than to harvest our organs. But how come this government, on all fronts, is just following the path of absolute destruction? The madness seen by the EU and the madness of the Canadian government is nothing more than absolute insanity, fueled by pedophilia, fueled by the government inertia to move forward for sex with children, for a government conspiracy, not of corporations, but of degenerates who want nothing more than to have sex with children and to have absolute control. The Canadian government is guilty of this. The EU is guilty of this. Those countries that go against the EU are instantly declared insane. Like the United States today. The EU sees the United States as nothing more than a depraved nation, fallen before society. Canada is a cesspool of pedophilia, run by a government with its tail between its legs and wants to follow the teachings of the German government and the EU by proclaiming pedophilia as a mental illness that can go treated without them facing the actions of their crimes due to the fact they support the European Union. All supporters of the European Union have always faced criticism on pedophilia and for covering up pedophilia because they want to make pedophilia as normal as catching a cold. We must understand this, that the EU and Canada is nothing more than a cesspool of pedophilia, a government that wants to control every aspect and to make every aspect of human sexuality completely dependent on mental illness, thus being forth that pedophilia is as normal as catching a cold. We must wake up, people. We can't wake up in the world we live in knowing that our children will be taken from us, knowing that they will be sacrificed in an act of depravity, that the government is okay with this. This is what the government wants. Justin Trudeau supports it. He supports pedophilia to the very ends of the earth because it's seen as a cultural barrier. Same with Merkel, who runs Germany, worse than Adolf Hitler, who many people see as a worse leader than Ribbentrop, a worse leader than any other leader who's come before. It's really hard to pin who is worse than her. Honestly, I'd even say Mussolini was a better leader than her, and Mussolini couldn't dictate jack and shit, and Jack left town. Now you have to understand this, though, that these governments are nothing more than a cesspool of sexual depravity. And the second you learn this, the second you'll be able to live with your lives. To live within a world of absolute splendor. Everything has to come to a point, and the fact of the matter is this point means that who do you choose? Your government or the safety of your children? I'd rather go to prison for the murder of somebody protecting my family rather than, well, you know. But hey, what does life have to tell you? When they take away your freedoms, what is left on the table? Absolutely nothing. And we need to understand that. We need to actually understand and wake up and realize what's really going on. Now, these videos you've seen me make, this previous movie that I made, this movie that you're watching right now, I want to assure you that these are in no way professional productions. I'm not doing this for fun. I'm doing this to inform, to educate. And once you realize that, you'll be able to see for yourself. The fact of the matter is, we are really, really fucked. The internet is being heavily censored. the world around us. You can't even say what you want anymore without being called a bigot or a sexist or a racist. Now, how is that right? You know, our grandfathers who fought for this nation, no matter where you are, would be spitting in their grave the second they found out this was going on. Now, I'm not white. I'm not a man or a woman. I'm you. No matter what you think you are, I'm you. That's how you and I can relate. We have to understand this. This insanity has got to stop. And will it? No. Not until there's enough blood on the streets to pretty much fill a couple warehouses. And that's the sad part. It's people like you and me, those that are just discovering this video or the other videos that I posted, will always be just one of those few that went through life silently. But it's going to change for the better. I assure you, it'll change for the better. Now here, let me light this cigarette. Everything you see around you is almost like a fairy tale. We need to assure ourselves that nothing will ever change. And that's where they want us to be. Now, if you're like me, you know that the world is completely insane, run by a group of maniacal dictators who want to put up walls. But the second those walls are torn down, everybody always seems to realize that, hey, everything they were preaching is nothing more than a lie. And is it? In my books, yes. And here's why. They fear us. They fear you, they fear me, they fear the guy down the street, or the person running the convenience store, or the person selling ice cream to your children. They fear us because the second we come together is the second they know they're outnumbered. And once they realize this, they wonder to themselves, how much more do we have until this is done? And it's not much. You know, I've preached about the Mephitis Society for so long. For so long. You know, I lose a couple people here and I gain a couple people there. And a lot of people just sit down and they actually ask me personally, they're like, how come you only have these many people following you? And how come there's only this many people who believe you? And I'm always like, well, you know what though? Rome wasn't built in a day. That's it. Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm not saying that I'm a great leader. The one who proclaims the truth the most is not the leader. It's the one who's a teacher. And I'm the teacher. I don't want to be a leader. I want to tell you all what's going on and then have you all realize what's going on, and then you can make your own decisions. You know, do you want your children to live in a future slave hut? Or do you want your children to live free? Because that's what I'm doing. I want you to come up with the idea and come up with your own decision. Do you want your children to be free, or do you want them to be traded on the slave market down the road for some corrupt, perverted businessman who's got way more money than he should have, deciding which entrance hole he should be going through first, the front door or the back door? So, that's my thought on this thing. Alright? Those that are listening to this, those that are believing everything that I'm saying to you with the facts, that I'm telling the world is the truth. You decide what fate you want your children to have. Or what fate do you want your sibling to have that mysteriously vanishes in the middle of the night? What's going to happen to them in the middle of the night, you may ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. A world based upon perversion. A world that will never end. In all honesty, I care less what side you choose. Because I know one thing for certain. My children are safe. My babies are going to be fine for the next 20, 30 years. But what about your children? How many times will the police turn a blind eye and say, well, this is all in their faith, or this is what they practice? The police don't care about you. No matter what you say or do, the police could care less. A police officer isn't your friend. They're a puppet, an extension of a glove. A scarf, if you could say that covers the mouth of the public, that is created by a powerful being, more powerful than the public itself. The government doesn't care about you. Corporations don't care about you. So who cares about you? You should care about yourself. You should care about your children, and you should wake up and realize that the government, corporations, and your neighbor could care less about you. So with that being said, think about yourself. Think about the world around you. And for one instance, please realize that no matter what you do or say, nothing will ever be the same. Okay? I am exhausted. I am tired. And the world that we know is nothing more than garbage. How many people here have woken up and thought to themselves, this world cannot get any better? Take a minute. I'm going to have a cigarette. You know, I wake up every once in a while, and I actually wonder to myself, why am I wasting my time doing this? Just why am I just killing time waiting for this to happen when I see the world around me for what it is? This world is a joke. Alright? This world is a sickening, sickening joke. And it has to end. But it never will end. Will it? No. This world is nothing more than a sickening joke crafted and facilitated to make the means of those in charge complete and to destroy humanity. You know, the last movie I made garnered 2,200 views, which is quite an amazing feat in itself. I was actually quite taken back by that. Taken back by the idea that 2,200 people have listened to these words. You know, it's one of those things in my life that I actually kind of am proud of, you know? That I'm actually quite happy, although I doubt anybody will be actually listening to this. You know? I'm actually quite surprised if anybody actually listens to this. And if you're listening to this and you're watching this movie, please comment and say, hey, I'm listening to this part, and it sounded like you opened up 2 beer cans. Well, let me assure you that I have. Alright? Here, I'll even pour them into this giant cup for you. Oh yeah, you hear that? You hear that? Yeah. And you're probably wondering to yourself, hey, why are you doing this? Because I can. Because nobody's going to listen past this point. And what point are we on? Let's see. We were at the 17-minute and 7-second part. Now we're moving on to 7:11, 7:12, 7:13, 7:14, and so forth. You see, because YouTube's a very fickle creature, YouTube could care less about you. It's true. YouTube, Google, all these corporations, Twitter, Tumblr, they don't care about you. They don't. These places and these companies do not care about you. They are void of freedom of speech. They do not want you to exercise your rights and freedoms because they're not people, they're not governed by the government, they're governed by boards. Alright? And these boards don't care about you or your loved ones or anything. Why do you think there's so much pedophilia on Twitter, on YouTube, on Tumblr? They do not care about you. They're not governed by the means of the government like how you or I are. No, they're governed by a board of a chairman of the board, a committee, people who own them. So all the stuff you see about YouTube about pedophilia and whatnot, and all these companies pulling their ads off YouTube, it isn't because that's how YouTube feels. It's because that's how the board of YouTube feels that they support. See, that's the reason why Tumblr has so many messed up ideas about pedophilia and whatnot, because that's what Tumblr supports. Tumblr supports pedophilia. YouTube supports pedophilia. YouTube and Tumblr and Twitter and all these other social media forms, they'll preach, no they don't, up and down the hallways like bratty little children until they're blue in the face, having a huge freedom of speech parade and equality parade for all genders and races and sexes and religious beliefs. It's all an act. It's all a facade. You have to understand this sooner or later, because these people, these corporations, these entities are trying to push pedophilia onto you. They're trying to groom you and your kids to understand that it's okay for a child in drag to go to a gay bar and strip and dance for men for dollar bills. That's what these companies want. They don't care. They're all satanic. They all practice the same satanic beliefs that societies long ago in Sodom and Gomorrah practiced, that God himself came down and destroyed. This is a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. The internet is a Sodom and Gomorrah society. And I know nobody cares, because nobody does care. Alright? Nobody does. I've been preaching about this for a long time now and nobody cares. But hey, it's okay though. It's okay. You're equal. You're an individual who's equal. And never forget that. Never for an instant forget that. That you're equal. No, I can applaud like a trained seal every day and night till the day the cows come home. But I won't. But anyways, it's not like anybody's ever watching past this part. I think my last video, I only had maybe like 20 or 30 people watch all the way through. And it's pretty sad to think about it. You know, because nobody cares. Nobody gives a crap about you or me or, you know, or children or anything like that. They're all talking about white privilege and white guilt and all this other garbage. But those who created it, you know, it's kind of funny though, because those who created all this, who write all these articles, they always have Berg at the end of their names, don't you think? You know, it's funny how people who hate white people always have Berg or Stein or Goldman at the end of their names. It's actually quite funny once you think about it. You know, I wake up every morning, you know, I'm in that group too, right? I'm not going to tell you my last name or, you know, my name or my gender or anything like that, but it's exactly the same as all these people. And it makes you really wonder just what the hell's going on, you know? But anyways, enough about that. I got the feeling I'm going to cut this a little short, you know, because in all honesty, who's really going to listen to me for the past 23 minutes, right? So, I don't know, I'm just going to cut this off here and then upload it later.